Part 2 of Cobra Kai introduced us to AXEL KOVACEVIC, the powerful captain of the Iron Dragon's dojo. This character has impressed everyone with his enormous strength and perfect defense. But what else do we know about him? What are his motivations? That's what we'll discuss here. Today on Charlietales, we'll analyze the character. I'll share everything we know from the series, and also some fairly secret leaked information. Ready? Let's go! AXEL KOVACEVIC is the male captain of the Iron Dragon's dojo. According to the series, this dojo has won the Sekai Taikai in the past, and both AXEL and his partner are top-tier champions. The series doesn't tell us where AXEL is originally from. Although the Iron Dragon's dojo represents Hong Kong, China, they are evidently not Asian. This is because the dojo has recruited them from different countries. AXEL is a character who has physically demonstrated massive strength and an impenetrable defense. Throughout Part 2, he passed the Sekai Taikai trials without taking a single hit. Physically, he's a beast. In Episode 10, he has a battle with Robbie, who is at his peak, yet Robbie couldn't land a single blow on him. Many describe AXEL as a robot, with perfect attack and defense. Even fans have compared him to Ivan Drago, the iconic villain from the Rocky Balboa saga. And the truth is, there are clear similarities. Both are characters with a cold and expressionless attitude. Both are much taller than their rivals. And most importantly, both are controlled by their trainers, as if they were emotionless robots. When the Miyagi-Do team meets AXEL, Hawk says he looks like he was created in a lab. Let's remember that Ivan Drago in Rocky Do 4 was a boxer who trained with chemicals, and was constantly monitored with high-tech equipment, like a lab experiment. These similarities are no coincidence. Cobra Kai fans already know that this series loves to draw inspiration from the Rocky Saga movies. With this in mind, it's pretty epic to think that the series has its own version of Ivan Drago. However, they are not identical characters. They only resemble each other physically, because emotionally, they are entirely different. Ivan Drago was a very aggressive and self-confident character. On the other hand, AXEL is an insecure young man with many emotional weaknesses. Let's focus on AXEL's psychology. Despite being a very strong character, AXEL is still young, and in several scenes, we see how he's humiliated by his sensei. In Part 2, there's an episode where he's training with Sensei Wolf, and his teacher reprimands him for failing an exercise. The thing is, Sensei Wolf is so aggressive that he punches AXEL directly, without gloves. Wolf humiliates his student with physical attacks to educate him, which is quite sad. In the Karate Kid universe, we've rarely seen this kind of violence towards teenagers. Perhaps the most memorable moment was when John Kreese choked Johnny Lawrence in the first movie of the saga. The series gives us more examples of the violence AXEL suffers. In the beach scene, he appears shirtless, and we can see his back. It's clear he has severe bruises. AXEL claims it's from the stick fighting competition. But Sam tells him that can't be the case, because no one managed to hit him in that competition. At this, AXEL stays silent. The clear answer is that Sensei Wolf beat him repeatedly with a stick. Moreover, let's emphasize that the bruises are not on his arms or legs. If that were the case, we might think the injury happened during an exercise. The bruises are on his back and in the same spot. These blows were inflicted as punishment. From this, it's clear that AXEL is physically abused by his teacher consistently. When Sam notices this, she tells AXEL that there are other teaching methods, but he responds that his sensei is the best, because thanks to him, he never loses. This statement tells us a lot. AXEL genuinely believes in his sensei, admires him, and accepts his decisions even when they hurt him. This is quite common among victims of violence. It often happens with women who are beaten by their husbands, but still defend their abuser. This occurs because the abuser has managed to make the victim develop an emotional dependency on them. In other words, the psychological violence reaches a point where the victim justifies the attacks as necessary. AXEL suffers from something similar. He's like a child who justifies his father hitting him. Unfortunately, AXEL puts his sensei on a pedestal, so he would never go against him. He feels that the hits he receives are for his own good. Another detail is that AXEL is very insecure when expressing his ideas. Sam compliments him, saying his dojo is great. AXEL responds by returning the compliment about Miyagi-Do, but if we notice, he stammers while doing so. Despite being a big and strong guy, AXEL gets very nervous expressing his thoughts. This is likely because, in his environment, he's not used to giving his opinion. It's clear he blindly follows his sensei's orders. As a result, AXEL's opinion holds no value. Additionally, AXEL is quite limited in social interactions. He rarely gets the chance to make friends, let alone have a girlfriend. We know this because, in the beach scene, AXEL initially refuses to talk to Sam, as his sensei forbids him from speaking with other dojos. We can also mention how AXEL easily fell for Samantha. In episode 8, we saw Axel share a friendly moment with Sam, which he completely misinterpreted. He even tried to kiss her. This makes it clear that Axel isn't familiar with romantic interactions. He's likely never had a partner. This escalates further when Axel becomes obsessed with Sam, to the point of feeling jealous of her boyfriend Miguel. In several scenes, Axel observes Miguel with a murderous look, and doesn't hide it at all. Axel is an extremely toxic character, who doesn't understand basic romantic norms, because he's never experienced them. The character is about 18 years old, but in terms of social relationships, he seems like he's 14. Let's remember Miguel from the early seasons, when he was young, and behaved in a toxic and insecure way. We all agree that Miguel has matured, and no longer acts like that. Axel, on the other hand, still has the emotional mindset of a 14-year-old, all because of the terrible limits and aggressions from his sensei. Unfortunately, the series doesn't tell us much about Axel's childhood, but we do know he's been training his entire life. He mentions having traveled to Thailand, Japan, China, Malaysia, India, and all of Europe. This makes it clear he's been competing his entire life, which is why he travels so much. So, he hasn't had a normal life. Let's return to the comparison with Ivan Drago. Although both characters share physical traits, they are very different emotionally. Ivan Drago was a very self-confident man. It's true that the government controlled him, but to a large extent, Drago acted of his own will. At the end of the movie, he didn't hesitate to stand up to his own leader when disrespected. Also, let's remember that in Rocky IV, he killed Apollo Creed and showed no regret for doing so. He even acted ruthlessly when Apollo fell. Drago enjoyed what he did. He was a character with evil in his heart. On the other hand, Axel is a good kid. He doesn't have malice in his heart, but he's highly manipulable, which makes him dangerous. Perhaps more dangerous than Drago himself. At this point in the video, I want to talk about what we'll see in part 3 of the season and share some leaked information. If you don't want spoilers, I recommend skipping this part of the video. In part 3, Robbie will resume his semi-final battle with Axel and will gradually manage to match him. In fact, Netflix released a small preview in which we see Robbie finally land a kick to Axel's face. Following this, Sensei Wolf will make a dark decision. He will order Axel to break Robbie's leg, and Axel will obey this order. In this leaked photo, we can see the actor who plays Robbie sitting next to crutches. So, it seems the information is confirmed. Robbie will be seriously injured by Axel. With this context, Axel's psychology becomes clearer. As I mentioned earlier, he's a good person, but also dangerous. He will blindly obey his sensei, even if he's ordered to do horrible things. The only way to bring him out of this darkness might be to defeat him in combat. We already know Robbie won't be able to beat him, so all the responsibility will fall on Miguel. We'll have to wait to see if he can take on this monster. That's all for today. If you liked the video, you'd really help me out by leaving a like. That would be legendary. Also, remember to subscribe to see more videos like this. Thanks for listening. My name is Charlie, and I'll see you in the future.